How's it going, everybody?
You know who it is.
My name is Sunwoo, and in today's video we are going to take a look at two distortion modules by Animal Factory Amplification, the Baron Samedi as well as the God Eater. While this video is not meant to be a complete tutorial on either of these modules, I still want to go over the general functionality of both of them, starting with the God Eater. The God Eater is a distortion module that started its life actually as a guitar pedal, and unlike many other distortion pedals which lose the low end as you are cranking up the distortion, this one really puts an emphasis on low end saturation and enables you to use it with bass or more low register instruments, which is really cool. And if you've ever used one of those pedals where the bass gets cut as you crank up the distortion, you know just how useful this can be. And the controls are a bass control, so this goes hand in hand with the tone control. You can generally turn up the bass with this one, and with the tone control you can blend between bass and treble, so kind of a tilt EQ, I guess. You've got the input level, then you've got your first clipping that you can turn either off, turn it to diode clipping or LED clipping. Then you got a high pass filter here, I think 6 dB per octave. Then you got another clipping circuit here, diode off LED. And then you've got the wet level volume as well as the gain. And down here you've got the blend knob, which mixes between your dry and your wet signal. And as you can see, there are dry and wet outputs separately, as well as a mix output. You've got an input, of course, as well as CV control for almost all the parameters. So as you can tell, everything pretty straightforward on the God Eater. Not so with the Baron Samedi, however. The most straightforward thing about the Baron is the volume control as well as the blend knob, which of course blends between the dry and the wet signal. Then we have the RUM parameter, which controls the gain for the fuzz circuit. And after that, with these three knobs, it gets a little more cryptic. We have the live knob, which is, as described in the manual, a strange notch filter that can self-oscillate the further you turn it counterclockwise. You've got the death parameter, which introduces gating and sound erosion, so your sound will cut off in some moments and such, as well as pulse width modulation. And these two definitely seem to interact, at least that's what it sounds like when I tested them. And then you've got the burial, which will introduce lower harmonics sub-octaves of the input signal. But of course, in order to know what that actually means, let's have a listen. Alright, so in this patch I'm sending a kick drum out of the OPZ into the God Eater, and that's just to make the kick drum a bit louder, and then I'm sending it into the Baron Samedi for some proper processing. So this is the signal that's coming out of the God Eater now. And now I'm gonna mix it to fully wet on the Baron Samedi. And as you can hear, once I stop the playback, if this circuit is somehow self-oscillating, it continues so. As I turn the voodoo down, It turns the self-oscillation down. As you can hear, a lot of interaction between the different parameters, and I think this makes it really interesting and playable. And I could imagine if you're, a techno producer and also gigging live with a modular system, this could be very interesting to liven up your bass line and your kick drums. Yeah, and create some interesting rumble basses out of this. Let's move on to the next patch. And in this patch, I'm gonna use the Bustle Soft Pop 2 and send it through the Baron Samedi on its own. Let's go. That's the dry signal. Send some clock into the Acid Rain Maestro. And again, we're gonna modulate the Baron Samedi. Alright, enough for this example. Now let's focus on the God Eater, and this time I'm sending a super simple sequence from the OP1 field through it. This is the dry sequence. And now let's turn up the wet signal. This knob here controls the bass. This is an overall tone. So here we've got more higher frequencies, and here more focused on the lows. This sounds nice. Alright, so these are just different types of clipping. We've got a diode clipper on the left side and an LED clipper on the right side. As you can see, the LED is blinking. And that's for the two different distortion stages that are there. Now with a little bit of modulation from the Maestro again. Pretty nice. And I also just realized that the God Eater actually can produce some sounds on its own as well, or rather, if you put some modulation or pings into it. So I still got the same modulation from the Maestro coming into it, but there's no input signal for the God Eater, so all the sounds are produced by the God Eater. Let's turn it up. Sounds almost like vinyl crackles. Okay, and to see where the difference between the two of them lies, let's send the same kind of loop through the Baron now. So that's the dry signal. And now let's turn the wet up. So I think you can hear from this comparison that the Baron definitely trashes your signal immediately, but it does so in a very pleasing way. It also doesn't have to trash your signal, but you can go pretty wild if you want to. And I really like how the different parameters interact with one another, meaning if you turn one knob, it will change how the other knobs are now responding when you turn them, which is very interesting and leads to happy accidents. Whereas this one is just taking your signal, making it fatter and adding all the nice things you would want a distortion to add, while preserving your bass and never going overboard and introducing completely different things like self-oscillations as the Baron is doing. Very nice distortion unit. Alright, now I want to test how both of these react to a vocal coming simply from the OP1's microphone and then going in here. So now you can hear the dry vocal coming in here, going out here. And now I'm gonna introduce the wet signal, and you can hear the wet signal now, and it's, here it is. Of course you get a lot of room noise, but you can hear we can get these nice old sounding tones. At least to me they sound old. And change them to your liking. You will hear some birds in the background, and see, we can get a little more treble here, or more bassy sound. We can get more bass overall or less with this knob as well. Alright, let's take the bass out. We've got a high pass filter here, a light high pass filter. So now we've got bass down, treble all the way up, emphasis on treble, and we've got the high pass filter also up. So we've got quite a high signal now, and now let's use these clipping diodes here and see what happens with the LED clipping. Not much yet, but we are gonna turn up some signals now and change it back to have some bass in here as well, and turn up. Whoa, now it gets a bit louder. See, the LED is clipping on this side, not on this side, but what if I turn it up here? And now we are going to take the same vocal signal and plug it into the Baron Samedi and see what comes out of this one. And you can immediately hear that some other things are happening on this one. So let's see. The Baron Samedi really seems to react to white noise, so there will be a lot of noise in the background as I crank the mic up quite high, or the gain on the mic, and you can hear it interacting with this stuff. Yeah, so let me talk over this white noise here a little bit and see. Whoa. Let's turn this down a little bit. Yeah, this is quite intense. Das ist Sunny zu dem Wunsch, mach Money, was machst du? Meine Aktien, kleiner Buddy, gehen wie Cuddy to the moon, yeah. By the way, I'm not a singer. By the way, I am not a singer, but I'm singing here for you, yeah, it gets wild. And that's it for this video on God Eater and Baron Samedi. If you are into eurorack and are a fan of distortion, definitely check out Animal Factory Amplification. They probably do have a module for you. I definitely think these sound very nice. And with that being said, thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I would appreciate a like, a comment down below, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to ring the bell. And if you want one-on-one personal music lessons, check out the link up there. I hope to see you in the next video. Until then, have a wonderful time. Peace.